Hey folks, and welcome to week number 7. This is going to be kind of a busy week, but I think so long as we kind of keep track of the bits and pieces, it's a lots of little stuff more than anything else. So, this week by Monday, I want you to watch the week 7 video, check your feedback on your Essay 2 proposal, watch summarizing and paraphrasing in the MLA citation videos, and then write and submit your Essay 2 draft. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and go down and show you all of that down here. So you can see there's just a couple videos here on how to do in-text citations, how to do your works cited page, and then, of course, a reminder about paraphrasing and summarizing. I will say, just having gone through Essay 1, I want everyone to kind of get a quick refresh on how to do citations. I think it's going to help you to do better works. Please do that. And then write and submit your Essay 2 draft. Of course, last week you guys, I think, looked at the sample Essay 2. So you should also have a good idea as to that sample and kind of what we're shooting for. So that's Monday, okay? I know that's a relatively quick turnaround between Thursday and Monday to write your draft, but the flip side to this, of course, is you did a lot of work on your comparison sheet, on your proposal to sort of get you prepped. What goes into that essay should be pretty clear to you at this point. If it's not, please reach out and we'll set up a meeting, okay? All right, for Thursday, so we're going to do peer review via email. Via Google Docs, but that means that you will get an assignment for Essay 2 peer review via email. So do check your email for that. As soon as I get drafts in Monday, probably Monday afternoon, I will be setting those groups up. So expect to have an email from me by Monday afternoon. Gives you kind of 3-4 days there to do 3 days, I guess, to do your peer review. Okay, and there'll be explanation in there about how to do that. There's a quick video on how to use Google Docs. If you have not familiarized yourself with them, I think most folks that went to high school in the past couple of years lived and died on a Chromebook during pandemic, so a lot of you, I think, are pretty familiar with it. But if not, there's a quick video there on how to do that. And I want you to complete your Essay 2 peer review. Now, let me note, that will all happen in Google Docs. Once you guys are done with Essay 2 peer review, I will actually come in and give feedback as well. Okay? And then this essay or revision of this won't be due till another week out. Okay? So I'll give you guys some time to revise this. So you don't have to immediately jump on this. But you guys are going to finish peer review Thursday. Thursday and Friday, my goal is to get in there and give you guys all feedback so you can have basically the weekend to get moving on revision. Okay. Then the other thing we need to do is kind of start Essay 3 here. So we're going to start the essay, read the Essay 3 assignment. We'll go talk about that in just a second. Read the sample Essay 3. You're going to end up writing and submitting an Essay 3 proposal. There's a reason for that. I'll talk to you about how to do that. Listen to the Science versus Artificial Sweeteners podcast, and then write and submit your Essay 3 proposal. Again, some of this, I have that up there twice. Some of this is getting us prepped for next week's work, too. So, as we get started here, there's your Google Docs video, how to use Google Docs again. Here's a link to the podcast, Science versus Artificial Sweeteners. The podcast is called Science versus Artificial Sweeteners, is the specific episode of that podcast. This is a link to their website. If you want to just listen to it while you're sitting at your computer, right here, click this, it'll start playing. If you want to be able to download it to your phone, listen to it while you're working out, driving in the car, whatever, if you go to their website, it'll get you all the download links. If you've got a preferred podcast listening app or whatever, you can hook it up that way. Just make sure you get Artificial Sweeteners. Then, here is sample Essay 3, okay? And we're going to kind of a 2-week discussion here about research. So this is going to be the beginning of research discussion round number 3. Okay. Again, you'll be in the same groups for that, and it will ask you some question about Essay 3 and about the podcast, the sample Essay 3 and the podcast. Okay. Unlike the rest of the essays, I'm giving you the sample Essay 3 up in advance because I think it's going to help you to understand what it is we're going for. Okay. So that's the Real Research podcast discussion stuff right there. And then finally, Essay 3. Okay. I'm going to move this a tiny, whoops, not going to move that. Move this a tiny bit down so we can get it all in here, okay? So there's an essay assignment here. There's a chart. I'll talk about that in a second. Again, just a proposal template, a sample proposal, and a place to submit that proposal, okay? I want to go ahead and go in and take a look at the essay assignment. Okay, so one of the things I want to note here is that we are moving away from analysis, which is what we've been doing, and towards actual research. So our first two essays, we were trying to understand how different sources sort of work, right? And what the strengths and weaknesses are of them, how to understand, and when we look at two sources that might give us different answers, how to interpret what those results really tell us. Now we want to kind of start actually doing some research and using the skills we've picked up with essay 1 and 2 to find the right and the best sources for our research paper. So, as always, there's some background. So the idea for this came to me as I started to see that people were sharing via Facebook, Twitter, etc., news stories and memes that were verifiably false, or more likely than them being straight up false, an oversimplification of the actual story. But these sorts of news stories and how we respond to them are ultimately kind of absolutely part of modern life. A generation ago, people didn't get their news this way. They got a newspaper. They might talk to a neighbor. They might go to a library, but that was being information literate. For us, we have so much more information coming to us every day. That means that we get more information, we know more, we are better for it, but we also can pass inaccurate information more quickly. So we think about this as the telephone game, right? We can start with questionable information, it gets changed a little bit along the way, and before you know it, it's wildly inaccurate, okay? Some examples here. Take, for example, the belief that vaccines are unsafe, that they cause autism. Jenny McCarthy, on The View, a good decade ago now, went on and started talking about this. There is a single study that looked at, that showed a correlation between vaccines and autism. There have been a boatload of studies since then that have shown there is no correlation, and the one that showed correlation was retracted, and the person who did it had their medical license stripped because they falsified the data. Okay. But there's still a persistent belief that vaccines are unsafe in this country. Again, just gets repeated, therefore it happens. The belief the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, limits cancer care to those over 75. In other words, if you're over 75, they won't cover it. Flat out untrue. Sarah Palin repeated this for a very long time. It got repeated in certain circles of society, okay? These ideas have taken hold and become what Stephen Colbert calls truthy. Just the idea that if enough people believe it, it becomes true. So, the essay 3 assignment. What I want you to do is to investigate one of these types of claims. Okay, so if you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter, you have friends who post these sorts of articles or memes, I want you to take a look at these articles or memes, okay? If you don't, we can find a news website that acknowledges its political bias. I'm going to recommend you use this Ad Fontes media bias chart. I will show this to you in a second. Okay? Find a single article or a single meme that you think looks questionable. It's got to make a claim. It's got to make a very clear claim that we could investigate. Then we have to investigate, identify the claims that are made in the article, figure out which of those we're going to investigate, and then your proposal is actually going to lay that out. Okay? So your job in the essay is to determine whether or not the news or information presented in the news is accurate. And we're going to do that by doing research. I want to show you a couple examples here. Now, this is the sample essay 3 proposal. You'll see that back in the essay 3 folder, okay? You can see how I lay out the central question, whether or not the meme is accurate. Why does this matter? And then what the specific parameters here are. And here's the meme in question. This is what I want you guys to think about. So this is a meme that makes a specific claim. Okay? We might see this come across Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and take a look at it and go, oh, yeah, okay. And if you're inclined to believe it, you accept it without question. And our goal here is to actually question it. The United States is third in murders throughout the world. If you discount Chicago, Detroit, Washington, and New Orleans, the United States drops to fourth from the bottom on the same list. Coincidentally, these 4 cities also have the toughest gun laws in the United States. So there are some very clear claims here. Number 1, it's the third from top in the murders. Number 2, that 4 cities have very tough gun laws. Those should be easy to fact check. I also like to fact check the main claim that these 4 cities account for enough murders that the murder rate in the U.S. would be near the bottom worldwide if those cities were excluded. In order to do this, I'll look at the murder rate and populations of those 4 cities, the murder rate and population of the rest of the U.S. Presuming that doesn't net clear results, I hope to look deeper into some simple gun-based murder rates, exempting non-gun related murders, because this is very much about guns. Between these things, I should be able to verify the factual accuracy of this bit of viral news. Incidentally, this meme is just flat out false. We're not third from the top in murders throughout the world. Chicago, Detroit, and Washington, New Orleans have a higher than average murder rate, but it's not, it moves it about 1/10 of one person per 100,000 people if you were to remove those 4 cities. It's just not a significant impact. Okay? Great example of a meme that you might be able to use for this paper. Okay? Another one. My wife and I discuss this all the time. I'm going to try to move this a little bit. Don't shower during a thunderstorm. Here's why. And you can actually see if you come up here, is it safe to shower during a thunderstorm? And it goes on, this is just an article from CNN, which says very clearly it is unsafe to shower in a thunderstorm. The reason this stuck out to me, because my wife and I have an argument about this all the time, I was like, oh, well, I wonder what they're explaining here. And what they do is cite the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC. Great, high-quality source, ultimately. They note that you should avoid all water during a thunderstorm. Don't shower, bathe, wash dishes, or wash your hands during a thunderstorm. Don't lie down on concrete floors or lean against concrete walls, okay? Don't use anything connected to an electrical outlet. This is actually like pretty wild stuff, right? That if there's a thunderstorm going on, you should not do any of these things. Now, a question we might ask is, what's the actual danger here? We could do some research and find out how many people die or are injured by taking a shower during a thunderstorm each year. How many people are injured by holding on to a phone? We could go out and do some research about that. One of the things I found interesting about this piece is they cite a good agency, but they don't actually cite any specific numbers. There's no real clear explanation. Ordinarily, CNN is not a good source for this assignment because they're substantially accurate. As much as people like to trash CNN as being too liberal and Fox News as being too conservative, both of them are actually substantially accurate. But this just doesn't have any information in it about how risky this actually is. And we could ask that question. Now, if you don't come across memes, if you don't have friends that share things, we can go back and take a look at one possible source. So, in the Essay 3 folders, this Ad Fontes Media Bias Chart. Okay? And you gotta scroll down here. And what this actually does is takes every news source, looks at it for factual accuracy and political bias, and then plots it on a graph, okay? There are print versions of this. You can get all sorts of downloads. You can look at things. You can zoom in on different areas. If you can't come up with anything for this, I have a folder next week that I'll be glad to share with folks. And B, what you can do is look at some of the things on the ends of the bell curve. I don't know who the Jimmy Dore show here is, but these things out on the fringes are websites that acknowledge their political bias and that Ad Fontes claims are relatively unreliable. Okay? We could go and check to see if that is actually true. So either on the right-hand side or on the left-hand side, you've got some options here. You can just hover over one of these and see the different websites and go and check out those possibilities, okay? If you're struggling to find a topic, please reach out to me. I will be glad to help you, okay? Step 1, of course, is to get sort of this topic approved, and you identify the claims within it as part of that, okay? As always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to let me know.